Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be restoring this antique kids rocking chair, so stick around and see how I do this. For this project, I was commissioned to restore this chair. The owner has had it since she was a baby and now wants to use it for her grandkids as well. So to get started today, I need to take off the broken piece that's on the seat. This piece is unfixable, so I have to create a new one. Also, the seat's a little wobbly, so I'm going to tighten up a few of the joints around the seat and fix that before I can proceed. Now, in order to make a new piece for this, I need to bend the wood, and in order to do that, I'll need to steam it and then clamp it into a form to hold its shape. And this is the form right here I'm sketching out using the broken piece that I need to replace as the guide, and then that will allow me to get just the right bend in the new piece as well. It's a perfect fit, so now I can move on to the next step. Now I've got a piece of wood here that's a scrap left over from another project, but it just happened to be the same thickness of the other boards that are on the top of this chair. So I need to cut this to shape. I'll need to sand it down because it has a clear coat over top. So I'll sand it down so that it will absorb the steam when I go to steam it. Now I've got here a pot of water on the stove, and pretty soon this will be boiling. I have a rack down on the bottom to keep the wood out of the water and allow the steam to get around on all the surfaces of the wood and allow it to soak in. So I'll let that sit for about an hour and then come back. After soaking for a while, I'm going to take this wood out, and if you try to bend it at this point, it's very bendable by hand, but the problem is it'll spring back to its normal shape. So I'm going to clamp it into this form, let it sit over about a day, and then I'll be able to take it out and it should hold its shape by then. It fits great, lines up with the rest, so now I'm going to trim it back down to the size that I need. I left it a little bit longer just in case it shrank when I tried to bend the wood and let it dry out. So now that I've got it all ready, I can trim it down to size and get ready to mount it. Now the rest of the wood has darkened. This is an antique chair, so over the years the wood does darken and absorb color. So I'm going to add a little bit of stain to this new board to make it blend in a little bit more with the rest of the wood around it. Now I'll start sanding this down by hand, and I'm going to do this by hand because I want to do this gently. I don't want to use power tools or else this might gouge or take off too much wood that I don't want to take off. So I'm going to do this lightly by hand, and it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to be a really nice finished product. Now if you notice, I'm pre-drilling these holes before I nail them. Because this wood is antique, it has hardened and has dried out for years, so I don't want to take the risk of splitting it. So I'm going to pre-drill it, then nail into that pre-drilled hole. Now I'm going to actually clamp the new piece of wood that I've added to this chair overnight, just so that it'll allow it to dry out a little bit more and make sure that it won't bow back to its original shape. Now after sitting overnight, I'm going to dust it off, make sure it's all clean, and then I can start adding the finish. Now the finish I'm going to be using on this chair is a Polycrylic Finish. It's a water-based product. It has very little to no odor at all and an easy water cleanup. So I love this product. It's a pretty durable finish at the end once it's dry, and you can easily wash the brushes off in the sink in order to reuse them again. And really, you don't have to use any harmful chemicals, really strong odors. This is a pretty easy product to use. Now that the finish is done, I'm going to let that dry, and you'll notice that sometimes when the finish dries, there's a very gritty or sandy texture on top of the finish, and that basically is the finish soaking into the wood. It'll cause the wood to expand, and maybe splinters will be pulled up to the top, or air bubbles will rise to the surface, and that will cause a rough finish. So I'm going to sand this down lightly with a very fine sandpaper, and then I'll add another coat on top of this and repeat that process of finish and sand a couple more times before it's done. Now that the sanding's done, I'm going to dust off the surface before adding another coat of finish on. Now after a few more coats of finish applied on this and sanding in between, here's the before and after picture of our refinished antique chair. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you want a notification when I upload a new video, hit that bell icon, and also help me out and give me a like on this video. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.